My name is Jeannie Tyrell, and you are listening to Brain Drops. The Brain Drops podcast will provide every listener information about the Brain Drops Foundation.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Brain Drops podcast. My name is Nate. I'm here with photographer Yvette, and I'm going to ask her some questions about how COVID might affect her business or might have affected her business, as well as how you as a person are handling the pandemic, and just a little bit about more on what you do locally and how you're helping others kind of achieve their photographer goals. How are you today, Yvette?
Good. Excited to do this.
Excellent. So glad to have you here. I'm going to start with the first question today. So tell me a little bit about the hobby of your photography and how the pandemic has kind of affected that, and other hobbies too, like art or anything like that, and how you've adjusted.
So photography is my primary art that I do. And I do both conceptual portrait work, and then I also do concert work. As we all know, a lot of events got canceled. So the majority of my reoccurring gigs and events had to stop for the safety of everyone. My portrait work, I had to make a decision whether to still go at it or pause it for a little bit, because I also have a chronic illness. So I had to really choose what was best for me. And so because of the situation we're all in, I did take a pause about a year to really reflect on what I wanted to do with my art and how I wanted to change it, and how I just wanted to really resonate like how art is, not just a photograph that I just took and looked pretty and slap it on the internet. I wanted it to really elevate or perfect my craft a little bit more. And concert wise, we're still waiting. Portrait wise, I've now, since we're in 2021, been returning a little bit, dipping my toes back in and, working on some projects, and kind of spreading them out so I don't really lose track of anything. I want to really dedicate and pour my heart and soul into each project.
I got you there. Excellent. How has the clientele been? Have you noticed a decrease, an increase? Just kind of tell me about how the business aspect is affected on that front.
So it definitely did decline a little bit, because I had to put my health first, and I'm very vocal about my chronic illness and where I stand. There's still a lot of people that don't know me in that extent, so it's kind of hard to make sure I address all the 10,000s of people that follow me about my illness and advocate for that, especially in the social media age where everyone's opinions matter, but you choose to which ones you want to listen if you want to listen to. So I try to make it as clear as I can, I tried to make it as clear as possible at the beginning of COVID. And that did take a toll, and I only had I think 1 or 2 clients during all of 2020, but I kept it as again, it's for my health and it's the best thing I can do. And when 2021 comes around, I'll come back, and hopefully things will start kicking in, and things are starting to pick up actually quite a bit with everything with Clubhouse and all of these apps getting together. And now I'm just pacing myself to make sure I don't overwhelm myself at all.
Absolutely. And that's a lot of people these days. That's a lot of people these days with their work and their lifestyle. And what about the world of family and friends, Yvette? Have you kept your distance, or do you still do gatherings with them? Your idea of the mask and the social distancing rules in the world, like where do you stand on that?
So I'm very passionate about that, actually, because just a quick backstory, I had a liver transplant when I was a baby. And then about 11 to 12 years later, I developed a disease that was very similar. That's kind of similar to lupus and arthritis combined. And that's a little bit more rare than lupus, or at the same level. And because of that, my immune system is compromised in 2 different ways. So when the news hit, I come from a family of 5. We've always been together, always lived together. We get together for any reason, whatever it may be. Someone got promoted, someone made it home in the thunderstorm or something. We would always get together. So this was my first year where every holiday was spent either apart or via Zoom or via phone call. And it definitely was hard on all of us. But, my family always had this, always had this, knowledge with my history that, at the end of the day, like, it sucks, but at least I'm like the most, I guess, delicate of the whole family. And they all, made the decision for me to all keep separate, even though it wasn't great at first. I did other things to keep my mind occupied. But I've always been for it, about doing as much as we can possible, doing the masks and everything. I've never I've never questioned that if it's for the health of my own and to keep others protected. I don't think it twice. I've been there. That's been my life growing up. And I understood at the moment, that we had instructions on how to protect everyone and ourselves.
Absolutely. Now I have another question here regarding work and your work environment. Has there been a situation where during your career in the pandemic situation where you almost wanted to give up? I know you took a break, but has there ever been a breaking point where you might have said, I don't want to do photography anymore, I want to do something else? Have you ever had kind of a moment where you almost stopped?
During the pandemic, for sure. When I took that break, it was either a break or quitting for me. And it had to do with a combination of everything, like trying to advocate for myself during the social media, trying to make people try to do the right thing. We can't pretend it doesn't exist. Bullying still happens on social media really, really horribly, and sometimes too much. And I suffered through a lot of that actually during the whole pandemic, either because I wasn't pushing for projects, or because I was advocating too much about, people like me. And that bullying was starting to add up, and I didn't know what was the right thing to do. So I did reflect and decide, is it time for me to stop? And, maybe if I get motivated again later, do it again. But after a lot of collecting so many plants and getting my mind off things, I decided that the best way that I could move forward is by at least giving myself a time frame like that. Yeah, I'm gonna step away, quote unquote, quit for a little bit, but still set a time where I'll come back, and then that time frame decide what I want to do next. If I want to come back the same way, different, what's my purpose with my work?
Now, do you have free time, and how do you fill it? I know other people I've talked to about this, a lot of people go to the fitness realm, or they do yoga, what have you. Are you someone that firmly believes in self-care time? Do you set time aside to do that?
Yeah, I'm guilty of not giving always myself a lot of self-care time. And because of the specific situation I wasn't able to go to the gyms or anything, or even go on hikes, because, it was too risky in my situation. Everyone's different, but I decided that, I was going to, because before a little bit of the pandemic, I was getting into plants, and that actually ended up becoming my little escape and my little me time, just taking care of my plants and seeing them flourish, kind of, like seeing like when my art flourishes. It was kind of another thing that, gave me peace during all this time, and relax, and that became my thing, my escape. And now I have a lot but they all make me pretty happy.
Gotcha. And now, are you currently in school, or were in school during the pandemic?
No, I was not.
Gotcha. So I'm gonna kind of twist this question a little bit. So since you weren't in school, just in your opinion, where do you stand on the whole online schooling and schooling in person? For you personally, what would work better for you, and why, if you were back in school right now?
I would ideally love the Zoom setup because of my situation. And actually I've done 2 Zooms already with like mentoring of what I'm trying to do. and actually felt more relaxed and not the pressure of, running, being too close to someone. It gave me more time to really help this person with their craft that they're trying to perfect or learn. So I like the digital the digital take on this. I feel like sometimes, specifically, people like me, sometimes we spend a lot of time in the hospitals or emergencies arise, and we're also like, we want to be at school at the same time. We don't want to miss anything. So the fact that this is becoming, developing even better and better and better, I hope that, kids who start off like me or in the same situation, that now they have this so they don't miss. Because growing up, when I did miss a lot of school, I just missed it, and it was pretty hard to catch up. So I like that technology now is going to help so many people.
Excellent. And that's definitely something that I'm kind of agreeing with as well. It's a very good answer. Now, have you or anyone you know got COVID before? And if they did, how did you deal with that? How did it affect you and them?
So on my side of the family, I believe it was my uncle's wife's mom that actually passed away from it. And they live in Southern California. And prior to all this, we were visiting them once a year. And it just sucked that, we didn't even get to see her again before all this happened. And then having it be so close to my uncle, because I love my uncle so much. He's old school and I love him. And just, it scared, I'm not gonna lie, it scared me half to death that, this virus was so close to him. And then on the side of my boyfriend's family, they also lost someone with COVID. And it started, I felt like the circle of our families were starting to get smaller because of this. And I was just hoping that it would stop. And thankfully, we haven't lost any more, other than one in his family and one in mine. And just me trying to do my part of advocating to be responsible is all I can do, even with how bad I felt with both of the situations. It was just tough, but the only thing we could do is like, how do we stop this from our end as best as we can or prevent this?
Gotcha. And now, where do you see yourself after the pandemic is over? So that can be, actually, how about all of it? So right after the pandemic is over, then 5 years from now, 10 years from now, where do you see your business blossoming? Where do you see yourself coming back from this year of kind of a lot of pain and kind of dread for many people?
Well, I hope to create, be very specific in the way that I'm creating my art, because I do want to advocate more for, specifically for, my health situation, and a category that I put myself in and that many are in, called invisible illnesses. That's something I've been really, really passionate about. And I actually hope that this is reaching far and wide, but hopefully to connect with, people that I admire. I've talked once with comedian George Lopez, because he had I believe a kidney or liver transplant. Yeah. And then Selena Gomez actually has lupus and a kidney transplant. So I'm really similar to her situation. We're both similar in the same situation. Actually, we take probably the same medications and everything. And so I hope that, I could connect with someone like that we can create a really powerful project that will resonate and bring, light and attention to this other disease that people are still not fully aware of that exists. And even I have had even thoughts of creating maybe a magazine that focuses on that stuff. I'm sometimes all over the place when it comes to projects and goals, but I like to at least have a couple ideas running, because I don't want to just be on a blank space. I kind of just want to have always something running in my head. But that's my biggest goal I've ever wanted to do, is use my art to advocate for that, for sure.
Absolutely. I agree. Always having something on your mind, always doing things is huge during the pandemic, especially. I find me and others, after kind of asking them similar questions, depression is very easy to creep in. It's a very easy time to get depressed and feel like, you just kind of want to lay down all the time or stay inside or what have you. So I think it's important to keep busy in a healthy way. Absolutely. And now my last question to you is, do you have any additional or finishing thoughts, perhaps any advice to photographers that kind of want to become more popular or make it bigger, or people that are just kind of giving up on their careers right now? Any advice at all through a flourishing company that you have? I assume you might have something to say there.
Yeah, actually, I have actually mentioned it to a couple people in the past few days, is that specifically the people that have been coming to me have been Latinas who have been trying to make their way into the concert photography realm. And for me, it was really difficult because it's a male prominent industry. So the fact that I'm even in it in any way, I want to make sure that all of the young girls who are even trying to just be a photographer in general, to really not give up. And if you feel pressure to find a niche or find it, like, I don't know, like a style specifically, like, don't force it. It will come to you. It took me 7.5 years to even get to a point that I knew that how I wanted to make my craft or my work. So don't base it on time. It will happen. And the more that you keep doing it without stopping it, even if you stop specifically, I guess, one task, like say taking photos physically, journal, right? What are your projects that you want to create later on? Keep those thoughts rolling. Don't stop thinking about it, even if you're not physically doing it, because there's a lot of doors for everyone. I'm a huge advocate for collaboration over competition, or community over competition. And, there's room for all of us, and I welcome everyone.
Awesome answer. Well, thank you so much, Yvette. Can you please plug your social media and your website for everyone listening who might be interested in a photo shoot or simply to know more about what your company is about?
Yes. So my name is Yvette, but you can find me on Instagram and on my website as nv18photography.com, and the same handle for Instagram, and on Twitter is just nv18.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Yvette. Thank you, everyone, for listening today. I do hope to have all of you tune in next time for our next guest in a couple weeks. Have a wonderful night, and we'll see everybody soon. Take care.
Thank you for listening to the Brain Drops podcast. Stay tuned for updates on our foundation, our guest speakers, and some interesting brain drops.